everyone. Hope you've all managed to get some food. I'm going to be talking about serverless Slack bots with Azure durable functions today. So, quick show of hands, who uses Azure, either at work or just personally? Cool, so we've got a few people. So this is very much Azure focused, and we're using a service called durable functions, which you may or may not have heard of. So first of all, a little bit about me. I'm a senior developer at M&G PLC. We're a big investment management firm in the city, so the idea behind us is, if you've got some savings, we'll invest them for you and try and achieve whatever goals you want to achieve with that money. I've written 2 books, and I've got a blog, so feel free to go and buy those books, or visit the blog, or tweet me at danbassdev. So I'm going to talk about a problem today. It's a lightning talk, so let's get into it as quickly as possible. So at M&G, we have basically big pools of client money, and they're managed by people called fund managers. And what they do is essentially take that money and go and buy stuff with it. But they don't just buy random things, they buy assets. And why we call them assets is because we expect to make some money off the back of it. So when they buy these assets, they generate trades. So it's, we're going to someone and trading some money with them. And this trade information can tend to be fairly locked down and siloed inside, highly secure systems or on-prem systems. Now, the trouble with that is that there's actually a wide community inside the investment management firm who need to know about that information and are entitled to know about it. It's not a security issue that they know about it. So there's one group of people called analysts, and what they do is cover, for example, like a sector of the economy. So they'd cover, say, 20 companies that do airports or something like that. So they want to know whenever anyone's traded in or out of airports, so that they can say, well, you might not want to do that because there's this bit of news in the economy, or whatever, something like that. The other group of people is the wider team that manage a fund. So it's very rarely one person just sitting there going, I'm a genius, I make all of these decisions. It's usually quite a wide group of people. It can be 20 people managing a single pool of money. So if one person makes a trade, the rest of them want to know about it as quickly as possible. So this sort of works at the moment with, there's manual processes, people send out an email once they've booked a trade, etc. But where I actually found my initial customer was an analyst who every morning got an email with all the trades that happened in the building yesterday and filtered them on Excel and then sent them on to the rest of his team. And he was very sad because that's a sad thing to have to do every morning. And it took him half an hour because, unfortunately, they'd never sort of gone through and gone, what's the systematic way of filtering these? It was a human going through going, yep, that looks interesting, which is obviously takes a long time for him to do. So, sort of our solution. So we wanted to use something which would allow our colleagues to collaborate on this trade information in roughly real time. Maybe not absolutely real time, given the sensitivity of trading information, but maybe a bit of a delay, like an hour or a day or something like that. We wanted them to be able to configure their own notifications because we knew that if we tried to map out what everyone wants to see across the company, it's a big company, we'll just be there for eternity going, oh, why don't you want this one? So we wanted to build a self-configuring system. So with that in mind, and being a serverless developer, I started to look at durable functions. So durable functions, for those of you who don't know, is an extension to the FAS offering on Azure, which is called Azure Functions. And what it essentially does, and there's lots of things that it does, but I boil it down to one simple thing. It creates a new type of function, which is called a durable orchestrator. And what's really nice about this new type of function is that it's completely stateful in the actual programming language itself. So you can literally go await and call a remote endpoint, and the state of that function will be preserved. So even if that, if you call some end API that's really flaky and takes like 8 minutes to reply, your function will just switch off, wait for it to come back. When it comes back, wake back up, continue on. So that's really powerful. It allows you to use the orchestrator pattern rather than the choreography pattern for events. So you'll have seen in a lot of earlier talks, people talking about, okay, you'll load a queue up onto here and then have an event here. And that's a great way to model things. But there's a reason why we then have to look at lots of complicated tracing solutions. It's because it's quite hard to follow, what's going where. In an orchestrator, it's await this, then that. It's straightforward. It's in normal code. So durable functions will basically allow you to do that, but entirely serverlessly, which previously you'd sort of need like a long-lived server sitting there to achieve. So here's a durable orchestration, and this is the actual one that we use for the trade bot. So here we've got a timer, so that just kicks off every 15 minutes or every day, whatever they want. Then the code goes off, gets all of the trades for that past time period, retrieves them, brings them back. That could take a long time, could take a short time, doesn't matter. We'll just, whenever it comes back, we'll pick up the results and carry on. Next, we go off to get the configs. So we've got a whole bunch of users going in, setting up, my first notification, etc. So we go through, get all of their configs out, and then we loop through those configs. And basically, for each config, we'll filter the trades according to whatever, criteria they specify. So what they might want, say they cover infrastructure like airports, they might give us a list of all the airport companies in the world and say, only send me trades that are in these companies. So we filter them, and then we send them on to Slack. So it's been highlighted earlier, actually, very well, that Slack is effectively a part of your serverless architecture. It's a SaaS platform, and it's, an inherent part of your infrastructure, your company, but it's often not really seen as such. When you look at SaaS products, they often think, oh, it just sits there on its own, and it doesn't really interact. But actually, it's a vital part of your colleagues actually doing their everyday job. So it's good to sort of think about it in that way. So this might be a little bit small, particularly for you guys at the back, but I've tried to sort of highlight there how simple the code is. So the step for getting trades and getting the configs is those two await statements there. Now it's saying yield here, and that's because I'm using TypeScript, and the preferred way of doing it in there is to use yield for durable functions. And then I go through and I loop through every single notification config, and then I do an await, and filter trades, and then await and send them off to Slack. So what's really neat here is if you think about what I would need to do to make this work without durable functions. So I'd need to have some sort of query going off here. I'd need to have a queue probably to send data back, a queue to send, if I wanted this sort of orchestrator pattern, I'd need a queue to send the command there, and then a queue to put the resulting data on, and then an event, and et cetera. And you would wind up being spread across many different lines of code. It's sort of hard to visualize. In this, I'm using TypeScript. I can just debug this in VS Code step by step. Super easy and really easy to reason about. So yeah, it's a good benefit that you can actually use existing programming tools rather than having to maybe use like a visual designer, etc. So why this architecture? So we're a big financial firm, so security is normally the first thing that sort of kicks in. What I love about serverless architectures is that their security is actually pretty top-notch. So because there's no chance for us to, for example, include, have a server running an outdated version of Windows that's easy to hack, all of that's gone, it's managed away. So the only vulnerabilities are really your libraries and your user code, which is still a decent amount, but it's a lot easier to manage than traditional architectures. The other thing that I'd like to highlight is rapid development. So we started work on this project with me and 2 new grads, and we managed to deliver it in 6 weeks from end to end. And they hadn't written TypeScript before, and there's a whole section to this app which I would present if I had longer, but that is quite extensive as well. So it's very, very rapid to develop these sort of things. You're not managing your infrastructure. You can get started very, very quickly. So what did we end up with? So we quite simply wound up with a notification a bit like this. So every day or every hour, depending what they want, they'll get notifications saying this trade has happened. It's up to them what they do about it. You know, that's not really our problem. But now in the morning on the way into work, they can just check, oh, what happened yesterday? Here we are. And they can start chatting about it, and you'll see them, you know, I see them sort of chatting backwards and forwards about what trades have happened, why they're happening, and highlighting, you know, maybe you didn't want to do that, maybe we should reverse the trade, stuff like that. So, yeah, so now we've got automated regular notifications, and we have a happy customer. So previously he was doing his manual work, and now he can just go in, tweak those notifications however he wants, and can read it on his way into work, which previously he couldn't do because obviously he had to get into work to filter the trades in the first place. So, you know, we practice extreme programming, so our focus on like a single customer and making them happy is very important sort of in our process. So now you sort of get to see what you could have won, as this is a talk that could be longer if we wanted it to be, but I think I am out of time. So just want to finish up by saying thank you very much for listening, and we're hiring, so please do visit this M&G's website and take a look at any positions. Thank you.